cinema in Baghdad, and recently they made the John Lennon Memorial in Central Park in New York. So as you can see, his field is very spread out, even in geography than in themes. For what concerns restoration and conservation, he started in 1958 restoring the mosaics of the Caracalla path in Rome. And year after year, they restored 7,000 square meters of mosaics in Caracalla. In 78, they conserved the Casa del Bracciale in Pompeii. In 78, between 78 and 99, they worked in the Museo Nazionale Romano, and most of the mosaics that you see today on display in Palazzo Massimo and the Museo delle Terme were conserved by Antonio and his team. During the 80s, they left and reapplied all the mosaic and opusectile floors in the Museum of Naples. Always Antonio recommended me, yes, when you speak of my works, I feel embarrassed because really that was not my work, but it was work of my team. And I said, Antonio, this is normal. I mean, no one can think that you make 300,005 square meters of mosaic in Manila by yourself. Otherwise, you should still be there. And he always worked with a team, with his brother, his sons and nephews, and many other people working with him. But then he works in Villa Torlonia in Rome, in Ostia Antica, Musei Capitolini, Palatino, Musei Vaticani, and many, many, many other places. In short terms, each one of these mosaics, if you go there and you say, I work with Antonio Cassio, they open all the door and say, welcome, you are the most welcome person. But I think the reason for giving him the ICCM recognition is not this curriculum, but it's for his commitment in training and researching and sharing his knowledge. In 1983, he joined the ICCM in the Aquileia conference, and since that moment he has always been in very close contact with the ICCM activities. The reason for this recognition to him is because Antonio was always a great innovator. He never stopped looking for new techniques, new materials. I say new, but in reality his attention was always directed to the technology of mosaic making and the use of traditional materials and technologies. And he never stopped trying to find out for new materials and methods. A couple of weeks ago, he phoned me and he said, Roberto, you must come because I have a new stucco to show you. And I said, come on, Antonio, I'm pretty busy, I cannot come. No, you must come. And I said, Antonio, why don't you take a rest? And he said, you need the rest because I'm old and I don't need rest. And one, in practical terms, of the most important change that Antonio produced in our profession, in our technique, is the use of cutting mosaic in small pieces when removing it. We don't have to forget that when Antonio started, the normal uses for lifting mosaic were rolling them or lifting them as by big blocks. That means cranes, trucks, lot of people, big resources. Because his experience in mosaic maker, Antonio translated in conservation the technique of working as per reverse side and per small blocks. So introduces the use of removing mosaic for small blocks that at the moment is still the best, safer and most efficient way of removing mosaic or lifting mosaic. The other thing that Antonio introduced was the intermediate passage on fresh clay of the removed mosaics. In short terms, when you have to conserve a mosaic detached from somebody else, you don't have documentation, you don't know the state of the mosaic you are working on. Instead of placing it back directly on the new final support, there is an intermediate passage on clay that allows you to treat the mosaic, to do the documentation before the final treatment. And many others, but I will not take, I don't want to take too long time for this. I would like to conclude this presentation with a personal story that I have with Antonio. This was in 1979, so a couple of years ago. And we were with the Institute of Restoration of Rome, and we were driving to Sette Finestre, that is an archaeological excavation north of Rome, for 1 month's practice, field practice. I was very proud to be with a big professor in the car, and I was very excited, and I could not wait the moment to arrive there. So I asked Antonio, what are we going to do with the mosaic, Antonio? He looked at me in a very strange way, and he said, how can I know? We have not arrived yet. And I said, yes, but with your experience, I'm sure that you already know what we will do. And he looked at me and said, remember, no one mosaic is like the other. And you can never know what you will do by the time you don't sit by the mosaic. You look at the mosaic and you wait for the moment the mosaic will tell you what to do. And this story is the most true story that we still face every day of our profession. So, I would leave the floor to Dimitri now.
Sono nato in una famiglia di mosaicisti e sono rimasto mosaicista e ho applicato la tecnica del restauro alla tecnica del mosaico nuovo per piccoli pezzi. Perciò all'inizio ho avuto qualche difficoltà nella scelta dei materiali, però poi una volta trovati i materiali giusti la cosa si è rivelata abbastanza buona e piano piano con gli anni è stata migliorata. L'abbiamo migliorata fino a questo punto, fino adesso. Adesso tocca ai giovani, voi giovani che continuate questo lavoro, continuate con passione, dovete sentire la passione dentro di voi, deve esserci questa passione dentro di voi, per il mosaico, per il lavoro, per il restauro, e solo così potrete andare avanti